Hey guys, welcome back to my channel where we still love reviews and tutorials. My name is Firenza. Before we even get started, y'all already know what needs to happen. Make sure you click that subscribe button and make sure you hit the bell notification button next to it so that you can get notified when I post new videos. Today we're going to be talking about a sponge that I found on Instagram, and I'm going to be using it for the first time in this video, and it is the Super Sponge. It comes in a little container like this, which is actually pretty sturdy, like it's plastic. It's not in here right now because I already used it for the video, but I'm going to actually put this up against my favorite sponge of all time, the Real Technique sponge. I have it in this little stand, but this is what it looks like. If you don't use this sponge, you should. But in today's video, I'm going to be putting these two to the test to see if this is worth the money that you spent for it. So if you're interested to see how this little sponge works, make sure you stay tuned. Okay, so today I am going to be putting a new beauty sponge to the test, and I'm very, very excited about it. I have here the Super Sponge. It looks crazy because I've already wet it so that I could film this video without any interruptions, but it is the Super Sponge. Now I saw this on Instagram maybe like 2 weeks ago, I think, and when I saw it I was like, oh, I kind of want to test it out. I've been looking for a new sponge. I am loyal to my Real Technique sponge, like to a fault, I guess, because I'm always only looking for these. I never step outside. I bought a beauty blender a long time ago and I didn't really understand the hype because frankly, like, my Real Technique sponge is loyal to me and it works better than the beauty blender in my opinion. So yeah, I wanted to try this one because it says that it saves you 4 times the makeup. It also limits germs and it stays clean. Now what it is actually a sponge. This is probably what got me to purchase it, but what it is actually a sponge, and it comes in this little package. So it is a stand that also doubles as a what do you call it, a scrubber. So like you use this to clean it, but it also comes in this, and this is what you can store it in. What attracted me to it is the fact that it's actually a silicone, I don't know, infused, a silicone coated is what it is, sponge. So this top part that you can see that is a little bit darker than the bottom part is actually feels a little bit like silicone. And if you guys remember a few years back, those silicone beauty blenders is what they were calling them, like the silicone sponges is what they were calling them, were like all a rave. Like they were just like these little gel filled, or I guess silicone filled pouches, I guess, and people were using them to blend their foundation in. And I bought a couple of them. They were trash, so I never used them. But when I saw this, I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I also saw them using it and I was like, I kind of want to see if it works the same. This bottom part is not actually a silicone blend or silicone coated. The bottom part feels just like my Real Technique sponge feels. So I'm going to put this to the test. I'm going to do half of my face with the Super Sponge is what it's called, and the other half of my face with my tried and true Real Technique sponge. I've already primed my face. I put some concealer underneath of my eyes and on my dark spots on my face because that is what I usually do right before my foundation, just to give me a little bit of extra coverage. I'm doing everything the same as I would normally do. In today's test, I'm actually going to be using my Infallible Total Coverage Foundation, which has slowly become one of my favorite foundations over time. What I want to see is if it is true that you actually do use less product with the Super Sponge. I'm going to try to get equal parts for both of the sponges, and I'm just going to go in with the sponge because I really do want to see if this is going to take up more product or not. So my Real Technique sponge is damp, maybe a little too damp. Let me try to squeeze some out. All right, so I'm going to take my Real Technique sponge, and the side, or this side over here, will be my Real Technique side, because I'm going to go ahead and put that on this side of my face and do like I normally do. Just bounce it. Get into the crevices. I love this foundation so much, y'all. If you haven't seen my video on Amazon makeup, this is where I featured this foundation. But I had not used it in a really long time before that video. And when I used it in that video, I was like, oh. In the video, I got a shade that is way too light. I made it work though, but it's a little bit too light for me. So I ended up going back and getting this color, which is a better match. But I absolutely love this foundation. You can apply this foundation with a brush. You can apply it with a sponge. Either way, it comes out beautifully. And I love it so much. So it is definitely one of my tried and true. So I'm almost about halfway through that little dime size amount. Like, oh, this foundation just lays down so pretty. So pretty. But you can see that the sponge already soaks up a lot of product. Okay, so we used about half of that little dollop. I used a decent amount of it, probably more like 2/3 of it, because I spread it out. So now I'm going to go in with my super sponge, which is the silicone sponge that we just talked about. Now what they say is you squeeze the excess water out the bottom. You don't squeeze too hard, but I did squeeze out the excess water. And then you bounce and blend foundation. And it's saying that you're supposed to use about half of what you normally use. So I say we just go right into it. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did on my Real Technique sponge and use the end that is more pointed. So I'm going to use this end and I'm just going to go in. Doing the same thing, just bouncing it. Okay. I mean, it's applying like a sponge. I was worried that it was going to have that like slippery feeling between the sponge and my my skin, you know, because it's silicone, but it doesn't feel that way at all. It feels the same as if I were using a regular beauty sponge. The claim of using less, I mean, I just used about 1/3 of what I put on there and cover my entire face, or my entire half of my face, which I had to use about 2/3 to do the same thing on the other side. So this concept that it actually does save product is probably true, y'all. Wow, that's crazy. That took much less product than my Real Technique sponge. All right, I don't know, Real Techniques. I'm just saying. I do want to see how this is going to blend out my concealer. So I'm going to go ahead and add some concealer to both sides of my face. I'm using the CoverGirl True Blend Undercover Concealer, which has also slowly become one of my favorite concealers these days. All right, so I'm going to go back in with my Real Technique sponge and blend this out. And now I'm going to go into my super sponge and I'm going to use the other side. See what this looks like blending out concealer. I would imagine that it would be even more full coverage because it doesn't have that absorbency that the regular sponge had, or the same level of absorbency. I'm actually kind of shocked at how well this is blending out. I mean, I know that it's a sponge, but the silicone, I was expecting to be like really slippery on my face, if that makes any sense. But it blends the concealer in the exact same way. I'm like kind of blown away a little bit. So like I'm low key like a little bit shook. A little bit shook, y'all. I am gonna see what this setting powder is like with this sponge, actually on both sides of my face, because like now I'm just like, all right, well, I know what the Real Technique sponge gonna do. I don't know what this one is gonna do. So I'm gonna take some of my setting powder in the cap. What I'm curious about with this sponge is whether or not this is actually going to not absorb any of the powder. I know that sounds crazy. This sponge is a little bit different in the way that it like holds on to the powder. I'm curious to know if this is how it's gonna work as well. So I'm just gonna blend out both sides so I don't have no creases, and I'm gonna dip right into my translucent powder. Oh wait, oh wait, oh wait, y'all might have did something. I love the way that this feels. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. This is so much different than the Real Technique sponge. Ah, did I just find my new favorite sponge? I think I did. Wow. It's almost like it goes on more even than the Real Tech. And I love the fact that it's like super pointed at the end, because then I can get that edge right on at the corner of my eye like I like. Wow. Y'all, I'm sized. But y'all, this sponge, I think it might be my new favorite. So it retails for, let me see how much I paid for it. So it comes in 3 colors, and purple, teal, and pink. I got the teal, obviously. It retails for $19.99. I think you pay like $4 or $5 for shipping. It's stain resistant, which I like. That is not the case for my my Real Technique sponge. You can't really see it on camera, but it is stained even in the areas that I didn't use it today, and I clean my sponges thoroughly. It's ultra hygienic, and I'm assuming that's because it has the the silicone on it. It's super soft. I agree. It expands more. I don't know what that is comparing to. My guess is the Beauty Blender, because it is about the same size. Actually, my Real Technique sponge might be a little bit bigger. It comes with that little stand scrubber, included in the price. And you do end up using less products. So I definitely think that, what it claims to be, it actually does. Whereas the Real Technique sponge, I think are a little less expensive than that. So I say that this is definitely worth the money that you spent for it, because it comes with so much. It has so many more features than a Beauty Blender or even my Real Technique sponge. I don't really like beauty blenders like that. I just feel like they're overhyped and overpriced, but this I feel like makes sense to me, right? Like it has the silicone to eliminate the amount of product, not eliminate it, but decrease the amount of product that you're using. It comes with this little sponge, and it has the little like plastic container that you can store the sponge in. I'm here for it. That is worth, in my opinion, all $20 that I paid for it. I hope you guys like this video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you're not following me on Instagram and Twitter, make sure you do that at FirenzaMonet. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.